Hi, everybody. It's Monday. Good afternoon. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants, right here in the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack. Meridian Health, keep getting better. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino. Giants fall to the San Francisco 49ers, 34-24. And we'll dig into the nitty-gritty of this game as we move along here. We'll take your calls, of course, at 201-939-4513. But, Paul, I'll just say this. To me, This is a really disappointing game where you headed into this game and you saw how banged up the 49ers team was. You know, they were 5-3. The Giants were 2-6, and the record is, there's a big difference in the record. But even if you looked at the number Vegas put on the game, it was very low. They thought the game was going to be very competitive. The 49ers defense last week against a Texans offense that has struggled, had trouble getting off the field. The Texans held the ball for 40 minutes in that game last week because the Niners defense could not get a stop. They allowed 157 rushing yards in that game to a bad Texans run game. And the Giants come into this game, and it's not fair to say they were non-competitive because they were in the game. It wasn't a blowout. But you never really got the sense in the second half of this game that the Giants were going to make a run and come back. And
no.
The defense was a big problem. They gave up 34 points. I'll get to that. In a second, I promise, because I know that's what most of you guys want to talk about. But heading into this game, and I said this in the pregame show, Paul, that the Niners were going to score points in this game. The Giants were down to their fourth and fifth cornerbacks. The Niners were going to score points.
Right.
They were going to score points. And the Giants offense, and I thought it was going to be a shootout. And I said the Giants offense, this is not me, Paul can attest. This is not me saying this after the fact. I said
not
this
at
on
all.
The pregame show.
And I thought it'd be high 20s to win the game, too.
And the Giants offense were going to have to keep pace with the San Francisco 49ers. And after the Giants came out and scored on the opening drive, which, again, to Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll's credit, they've done a great job of doing this year. They script that first set of plays, or even if it's not technically a script, they install the plays you want for that week, for that particular matchup. But for the most part, it's been very successful. They march down the field, they run the ball, they throw a bunch of short little passes that they open up using some good scheme stuff, and they march right down and they score a touchdown. It was great. Unfortunately, we did not see them do that until the fourth quarter. Next 5 drives for the New York Football Giants, 3 plays, 8 yards. Third drive of the game, 5 plays, 25 yards. They got a first down on that drive. Congratulations, guys. Next drive, 3 plays, 3 yards. Next play. Next drive, 3 plays, 3 yards. Next drive, 4 plays, that's including a missed field goal, and 0 yards. So after gaining 59 yards, or 64 net yards, on their first drive, they proceed to gain 29 over their next 5. And they score 0 points, and because of a missed field goal by Graham Cano, which is obviously disappointing, they go into halftime down 17-7. The Niners score a field goal on their first drive of the second half. It's 20-7. And look, Paul, I'll be honest with you. And this is why I wanted to start with the offense. And again, we'll get to the defense. I know that was a huge problem. If you told me heading into this game, the Giants would have 7 points at halftime, I would have told you I'm almost sure they were going to lose the game. And that's why I wanted to start there. Because with all the injuries on defense in the secondary, you knew it was going to be problematic against Kyle Shanahan. We said this last week. The offense was going to have to do their part against the Niner defense that had no one in their front 7. No one. Everyone was hurt except for Michael Williams. That plays a prominent role in terms of their pass rush. Everyone was hurt. Fred Warner, hurt. The offense had to do their part in this game to keep pace with the Niners offense. And in the first half, they did not do that.
Why don't you tell the people how many yards rushing the Giants had in the first half?
I don't have that. Do you have that off the top of your head? Oh, I got it right here.
Yeah.
The Giants in the first half had a whopping 38 rushing yards.
Yeah.
On 3.5 yards per carry. And no runs of more than 8 yards.
Yeah. And the truth is, when you have a rookie quarterback, the balance is so critical. The Giants, 2 games that they won, they ran the ball almost 40 times in both of those games. Yeah. Okay?
Well, it helped that you were playing with leads in those games.
Well, yes, but they had a lead here too. It was 7-0.
That's a fair point.
If you cannot get that running game established in the first half to at least put your quarterback on a somewhat decent playing field, you're putting him uphill. And you're asking him to climb uphill.
And I'm going to give you a couple numbers to back that up here, Paul. On the Giants' first drive, by my count here, they only had 1 third down. It was a 3rd and 6, which is technically, if you want to look at how the NFL keeps track of third downs, that's a 3rd and medium.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
They usually go 1, 2 to 4, or 2 to 3, 1 to 4, 5, 4 to 7, whatever it is, 4 to 6, and then 7 or 7 plus.
Yes.
Is this how they use? It's usually 4 to 6, 7 plus, 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
So 3rd and 6, they convert that on a dart scramble on their first drive. The next drive, 3rd and 10. The next drive, after 2 false start penalties on a 3rd and 3, that becomes 3rd and 13.
Mm-hmm.
Next drive, 3rd and 12. Next drive, 3rd and 7. Next drive, 3rd and 10. And those are all the third downs that they could not convert, and they had to either kick and miss a field goal or punt the ball away.
Because they could not run the ball.
And Cam Scadaboo was not there, and I think that made a big difference in this game.
Now, it's a shame because Singletary actually did a decent job for the runs that he had.
Yep.
I happen to be a huge Tyrone Tracy fan,
So
and
am
I
I.
thought he was going to have a whopper of a day.
Hey, you told me over 110 scrimmage yards in the pregame
That's what I
show.
said,
Yep.
and I stand by that. I absolutely would say the same thing again if they played tomorrow.
You will not find bigger Tyrone Tracy fans than the two of us.
And yet, they just didn't get push. Now, what we know about Scadaboo is that even if there's not much there, he will fall forward and get you an extra 2 to 3 yards, even when maybe it's just not available. I'm not demeaning the other two backs by any stretch of the imagination. They're both pros. Singletary's a veteran who's been around a long time. He's more of an inside runner. He does run hard. Tracy runs hard. They're just not the same type of battering ram that Scadaboo is. Now, that's not to say if Scadaboo played yesterday that he would have run for 40 yards in the first half himself.
Correct.
I don't want to deceive anybody into thinking that I believe Scadaboo's injury is the reason the Giants did not get a running game going. I don't want people to believe that. But there is no question that they did not get push.
Now,
and it hurt.
13th on the game, 13 carries for 61 yards by the Giants run game. It's almost 4.5 yards per carry. It's not bad.
Yeah, but it's what happens, the effectiveness of those yardage.
I understand.
And within the game flow.
I get that.
And it just wasn't there.
Especially against the Niners run defense that certainly struggled last week. So I'm with you on that. And then as for the passing game, I thought Dart did okay in this game. A lot of his numbers came on 2 drives at the end when the Niners were up 3 scores in the fourth quarter. So take that with a grain of salt. But he fought. He got back. He made some really nice throws. The one to Slayton that he dropped. The one to Olszewski that he caught. There were some nice plays. So give them credit for that. But overall, he held the ball about 3 seconds of drop back, which is much better than last week, and he was 3.6. I don't think guys really got open downfield a ton. When I rewatched the tape this morning, there weren't a bunch of guys running open. On plays where guys did run open, I thought Marcus Bowe allowed some pressures in this game that short-circuited some potential throws down the field. I thought on a couple of those 3rd and longs, Jackson maybe could have held it a little bit longer because I thought the protection was actually pretty good on some of those, and he ended up going to the check down. But again, I thought the Niners did a really good job of putting an umbrella over things, whether they were playing cover 6, whether they were playing quarters, whether they were playing cover 3. They played guys legitimately deep. They weren't getting nosy. They were forcing everything in front of them. No doubt. So, again, you need a little bit more from the Giant offense. You know, you only had those 2 explosive plays, the one to Gunner, and then you had one over the middle to Slayton. Again, on those last 2 drives in the fourth quarter. But before those last 2 drives, Paul, you didn't have a play of over 20 yards in this game.
No.
Before those last 2 drives. So, and if you can't run it on early downs and you can't get explosive plays, how are you moving the ball and scoring points?
Not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. Anything on the offense before you go to the defense?
I will just add one other item to this, and that is I was really happy for Gunnar Olszewski with that touchdown.
Yes. So
he is a guy who has come back from Nowheresville. Remember, he wasn't even on the team at the beginning of training camp. And then when Ford Wheaton got hurt, they made the call to bring him in as a functional wide receiver who knew the playbook. He played so well, and I mean so well, they couldn't cut him. They couldn't cut him, John. He made every play you could imagine during training camp in the preseason. Has had a nice job on special teams. Really done a good job on his kick returns. And they gave him a chance to play receiver yesterday at the end of the game. And that was his second career touchdown catch. He's been in the league, 5 or 6 years now.
Right.
That's his second career touchdown catch. He felt, I could tell the pride that he had making that play.
I would like to see him more of an opportunity moving forward. We'll see how that goes. The only thing I'll say about the offense, and we've talked about this a lot here, how they've gone to a lot of multiple tight end stuff over the course of the season. Daniel Bellinger did not play in this game. Jermaine Illuminor did not play in this game. That's why Marcus Bull played at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
They only ran 10%, 12 personnel in this game. They led the league in 3 wide receiver sets this year at over 90%. Ray-Ray McCloud got most of those snaps. He only got targeted once for 5 yards. So I wonder if they could go back and do it again if you do a little bit more 2 tight end stuff. Try to either get Manhurts or Fredoni in the game and try to keep doing what you're doing the last few weeks, where you use those 2 tight ends, you get teams into bigger personnel, you have them get closer to the box, you run some more play action, you create some opportunities down the field for your tight ends or your other players because you have bigger personnel in the game. They went to the 11 personnel a lot, and I don't think they got what they needed out of it.
No. And to be honest, I don't know what the realistic expectation was out of Ray-Ray McCloud since he just got here, short time ago. I was a little bit surprised that he played as many snaps as he did, considering that some of the other receivers have been here longer. But nonetheless, he got a ton of snaps, had the 1 target.
I think he played every snap but 2 in the game.
It was over 90%.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure I understood why, but look, they must have had a reason. I quite frankly...
52 of 57, pardon
me. There you go.
52 of 57.
How was this for a surprise, though? Jalen Hyatt was returning kickoffs and did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he was okay.
And that was kind of odd to see McCloud in the receiver spot, and he's known as a kick return guy, to see Hyatt in the kickoff return spot, and then to see Olszewski at the end of the game in the receiving spot. You got to see guys doing some different things.
It was all musical chairs.
It really was.
And, look, when you lose all these guys, Paul, you have to try to figure things out. I think that's what they're trying to do.
The more you can do, right, John?
Something that works here. And yeah, Ray-Ray McCloud's a speed guy, so we talked about not getting explosive plays. I get it. You want him in the game. Instead of, say, a little Jordan Humphrey, who was a bigger receiver, McCloud has the speed to try to create some of those explosive plays. It just didn't happen to get them in this game against the 49ers. All right, let's get to the defense here, Paul. And look, my caveat here, and I always talk about players and personnel. The Giants' secondary was just battered and bruised. Deonte Banks acted as their top corner. You had Corey Block on the other side. Bernard Jarrett Converse came in at the end of the game after Corey Black got banged up in this game. So that's the caveat, because you look, and I went back and I rewatched this, and leaving the stadium yesterday, I was a little annoyed. I'm like, look, you have all these great players up front, and you did not get enough pressure on Mac Jones.
No.
You did not disrupt him.
No.
But then I rewatched the game today, and you know what? Because he was getting the ball out fast on every single play.
Well, Shanahan knew what he was doing.
2.48 seconds average time to throw. Fifth, I think it was 5th quickest in the NFL this week. And it was either play action, so you didn't have standard dropbacks. They moved the pocket a couple times too, but it was just quick passes. And when your secondary allow guys to get open quickly, and the ball can come out as soon as the quarterback's back foot hits, there's not much your pass rush can do in those situations.
Shanahan was going to avoid that front as much as he possibly
could. And look, I'm not trying to pat myself in the back here, but when we did our over-unders in the pregame, right? I put the over-under for Giant sacks, I believe, at 2.5, if I'm not mistaken.
You did, and it was 2.
And I went under, and you and Tiki both went over, and the explanation I gave, and I said, Kyle Shanahan, and again, this is not me trying to brag, it's just I thought we saw coming that Shanahan schemed the hell out of this thing. He knew that his offensive line, which again is missing their center, Hennessy started at center, Brendel was out, Spencer Buford came back for the first time this year. Their offensive line's not great. It's kind of something they've patched together a little bit this year. He knew they weren't going to be able to hold up against the Dexter Lawrences. And look, when Dexter got one-on-ones in the pass game in this game, he did push the offensive line back a bunch of times. But too often, they just got the ball out really fast. And when your secondary allows guys to get open quickly, your defensive line's not going to be able to get home. And that, to me, and we'll get to the run defense too, because that was also a big problem, and we'll talk about the front with that for sure. But in terms of a lot of these third downs and trying to get off the field, Paul, Guys were just open very quickly. The ball got out,
Mhm.
and there was not much the defensive line could do in those situations.
Yeah, totally concur. You know, you had gone through a logical path with your reasoning. Tiki and I thought that the Giants' front would be fierce enough that they could get possibly the 3 sacks, and that's why we went over. I think what was more disappointing to me, you know that when a quarterback is going to, and you could tell from the beginning of the game that it was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was very obvious as the game was progressing. He was 14 of 14 in the first half.
Yes.
Okay. So we could see exactly what they were doing. It was no longer a secret by the time you got to the second
And
quarter.
by the way, I think the Giants anticipated. There's a reason they barely blitzed in this game.
Oh, no
because
doubt.
they knew the ball was going to come out
But
quick, and
here-
Shanahan teams eat up the blitz.
Here's my point. What really disappointed me more is that you know when that's going to happen, one of the things you try to do, and the Giants were unable to do it. I'm not saying they didn't try, but they certainly didn't get it done. Get your hands up in the passing lanes.
No, that's a great point. It's a great point, Paul.
You know,
I didn't even think about that.
you have to understand that, all right, they're going to make it really, really hard for us to get there. So what do? You peel back a tad maybe on the rush, and you worry about just getting in the guy's windshield. Get those hands up. Make sure you stand up the offensive lineman. Do everything you can to clog up the potential throws that he's going to make, because he's just looking to do that little quick short dart. Boom, 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 boom. You got to create traffic in front of him. I don't know if the Giants tried to or not. I certainly didn't see them effectively do it.
No, I agree with that. So that's what I saw in the passing game. And look, I think stat I saw after the game, this is Mac Jones' highest passing rating of his career. I think I saw 135.2.
Yeah, probably.
It was something like that.
It'd be hard to do better.
If not the highest, one of the highest. He was 19 to 24 for 235, pair of touchdowns. And the thing that's disappointing, Paul, if the ball's going to come out that quick, you would think you're going to limit the number of explosive plays that the other team gets.
Yeah.
And that to me is, and look, I know the secondary's banged up. And by the way, they did play a bunch of different coverages. They tried cover 3. They tried man.
They absolutely did.
I can give you guys the breakdown if you want it. I went down and I went through PFF, and they gave the coverage breakdown for the Giants defense. Cover 3 was their primary coverage, 44%, 18% quarters, 18% cover 1, 3% cover 2, 4% cover 6. So they ran a bunch of different coverages in this game. They tried.
They did.
It just wasn't very effective. The 39-yard pass to McCaffrey on the little swing route when Corey Black is in cover 3 and he gets his eyes inside when he is outside responsibility. 39-yard gain. You had the pass to Kendrick Bourne. I think that was one of those little quick slants over the middle or little dig routes where they're in cover 3 and Deontay Banks gave him a little bit too much space. He got in front of the safety. Yep. Sky Moore had the 21-yard catch on Corey Black. You had the Juwan Jennings slant for 20 yards. So, it was a bunch of stuff going towards the middle of the field. And again, we're going to get to the run defense now. They did a great job with play action where the Giants linebackers had to be nosy around the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And that opened up the middle of the field on all those slants and crossers and thing towards the middle that allowed those passes to be completed. Because, again, the Niners ran the ball effectively in this game, Paul. And heading into this game, we talked about it. McCaffrey had just under 500 rushing yards, but much like Saquon Barkley last week, was around 3.5 yards per carry. And they weren't an efficient running attack. Well, that quickly changed this week.
That became exactly the opposite of what the Giants couldn't do.
Correct. And in the first half, they ran to the edges a lot. They had 45 rushing yards to the edges in the first half. Then the Giants got that cleaned up. And then I was like, all right, well, we'll just run up the middle then.
Right.
And on their last 2 drives, I think they only completed 2 passes on their last 2 drives of the game. And they ran the ball over 10 times on those 2 drives and they ended up getting 2 touchdowns out of it. So the Giants, once again, could not stop the run. Offensive linemen were getting to the second level again, and they were getting hands on linebackers, so they couldn't get there in time. And, Paul, I mean, this has been a running story for 3 years now with the rush defense, going back to Wink Martindale's final year here. It's just not good enough. It has to be better.
Yeah, John, I don't have a whole lot of answers on this one. I certainly expected it to be better. We do know that Micah McFadden's injury was a big deal. Remember,
and by the way, Darius
Flanagan Foles in there a lot of the time
because Muasau got hurt and left the game as well.
Correct.
And Fowles is a really good athlete. We actually saw him cover Christian McCaffrey on a play pretty well in that little whip route.
He did.
but he's a smaller guy, and the stuff around the line of scrimmage, it's a work in progress.
Well, he's more of a nickel linebacker and a special teams player.
Right.
That's truly what his NFL resume states. And so he was forced into doing more than yeoman's duty yesterday, and it was certainly something that was a challenge for him. I will say this, John. I felt bad for Corey Black because he got here a couple of days shortly before the Philadelphia game, right? And he gets 30 defensive snaps.
And this is why I'm not killing Corey Black.
No.
Because it is not fair.
He's a good guy. Did you get a chance to talk to him last week?
I did not have much of a chance to talk to him. No.
Really good guy. Really good guy.
He's a 6th-round pick that was been here for 2 weeks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I talked to him about the Philadelphia game the couple of days earlier, and he was really happy and grateful to be back. Never wanted to leave. Was happy to get a chance. Was overwhelmed, obviously, at the 30 snaps he played in Philly. He understood.
Yes.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's no getting around it. He was in the deep end of the pool.
I will say, never wanted to leave. He did choose to join the Jets practice squad instead of the Giants practice squad. So clearly he chose to leave. He could have stayed here if he wanted to.
They incentivized him a little bit.
Nevertheless.
Yes. Okay.
He could have. My point is that he could have stayed if he really wanted to.
Okay. I got you. In any case, so the play yesterday, Jennings does an in and out stutter step move on him, and Black just trips over his own feet.
He put him in a blender.
That's it. He trips over his own feet. This is a veteran receiver against a kid who's, making his second NFL defensive appearance. And he trips over his own feet on the little stutter step in and out move. And there's nobody there because that's his guy. It's a one-on-one situation. And that's where we talk about sometimes how your one-on-one matchups, you have to win them. Now, in this case, because of the injury situation with the Giants, the 49ers knew that if they could get a one-on-one matchup with one of their vets like that against a Corey Black, chances are the Niners were going to win the matchup. And they did. That's good coaching. And by the way, for the Giants, it's not like that's bad coaching. You don't have another choice.
Right.
You got to play the guy you got.
Right. Like, Paul, how many times did the Niners throw at Drew Phillips in this game?
I think it was only once.
Maybe. They were throwing at the 2 outside corners because
Right.
Cordell Flott wasn't there.
They
and
knew.
Paulson Adebo wasn't there. And I'll close it with this with the defense. The Niners wanted to win this game offensively in a specific way.
Yes.
The Giants never forced them to get out of their comfort zone and play football a different way. They were able to be successful on early downs, get into third and reasonable, and they were able to do that all game long, and the Giants defense never made enough plays, except for Brian Burns, who once again, he broke up a 3rd down, which, by the way, Christian McCaffrey would have been, I don't know if he would have been off to the races, but there was a lot of room on that pass to the right sideline that he batted down, and then he forced the only takeaway of the game forced the takeaway.
He did.
He hit the quarterback, and Abdul Carter ended up getting the fumble recovery on the play.
Right.
And Burns had his 11th sack of the year. But other than that,
Leads the NFL.
nobody else made a big play in this game to put I think they had 2 runs that went for negative yards in this game. They were never behind the sticks. They were able to control this game offensively and play it exactly the way they wanted to play it.
John, we talk all the time, and I love to use that whole Parcells phrase about pathways to victory. The Niners understood exactly what their highway to victory was. And Kyle Shanahan and his staff, to their credit, they were able to say, okay, here it is, fellas. It's really clean. This is exactly what has to be done. Do you want to control the narrative of this game? Do you want to control the game flow? Do you want to be basically dictate exactly how this game is going to turn out? This is what you need to do. And we know where the Giants are weak. We know where the Giants are shorthanded. It's pretty simple. And I always say, it's not hard. Parcells used to say the same thing. It's not that hard to diagram the pathways to victory. The hardest part is to get the guys that you have available, especially if you're banged up or if you have backups playing for whatever reason, to get them to do what it is that needs to be done. Finding the recipe is the easy part. It's getting the guys to do the recipe that becomes difficult.
And here's the disheartening part of it to me. I think the Giants knew exactly where that highway was?
Yes.
Where they're going to try to get on the highway?
I'm sure they did.
How fast they're going to drive on the highway? What exit they're going to get off the highway?
Mm-hmm.
The Giants do. But, again, partly because of the injuries. But, again, the front seven stopping the run, that's not an... And, look, the one linebacker, sure. You can't let one injury just completely just destroy your whole run defense. That's not how this works. And they were not good enough, even though they knew what the Niners were going to try to do. They didn't do anything that game, the 49ers, that I haven't seen Kyle Shanahan do a bajillion times.
Right.
Watching the Niners play football. They were outplayed. They were not able to be better than the 49ers on the field. And that was disheartening to me.
And that's why when you hear coaches coach and players play, well, not only did the Giants not become stout physically against the run because we saw the different things they tried to do and we all knew what was going to happen. Well, on the other side of the field, too, we also knew some of the things that the Giants had to do. And it all started with getting a balanced attack with the running game, which the offensive line did not do enough up front to let them do it.
Look,
case closed.
Robert Saleh did nothing that surprised us. He ran a lot of zone. He did a lot of simple stuff.
And a lot of straight four-man rushes.
He didn't blitz anyone.
No.
He ran a lot of stunts. They do that. It's exactly what we talked about they were going to do during the game.
Guys, win your matchups. And when you just go out there and win.
And when you play two high safeties like they did look, the Niners started basically every one of their plays in two high safety, and they would kind of convert that into cover three and one safety deep sometimes. My point being, they never had extra guys in the box.
No.
So
that's why I'm trying to say.
If a team's going to put an umbrella over you and play soft coverage, you have to be able to run the football consistently.
And then maybe, if they do start to cheat up a little bit, now you might be able to hit a big play or two downfield. But the Giants just never got that established, even though they scored on the opening drive and went, 65 yards, was it? 69?
69, I think.
69 yards on the opening drive, which was marvelous. But then from that point forward, they didn't do enough up front to own the line of scrimmage, to allow the mixture of plays that they needed to use to get San Francisco out of their game plan.
201-939-4513. Check out the Giants Huddle podcast. The rapid reaction from last night's game is up there already. I think it's Madeline and O'Hara that were up there. Was Sean doing TV postgame yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
He was, right? So it'll be Madeline and Sean O'Hara up there talking about what happened in that game. Check it out. It's on your favorite podcast platform. Go to your favorite podcast feed and subscribe. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or any of these other podcast platforms, leave a positive review for us or follow the podcast, subscribe. That will really help us out. All right, let's go to the phones. I'm going to start on line 2 here, Johnny Mac. We're going to go Jay in Phoenix first. Jay, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Just like you've been listening to you guys since the beginning of the show, and just disappointed I haven't called in for a couple weeks because I've just been so frustrated with what I've seen. But you know, as I look at this, one of the things I'm really excited about is that we've got Jackson Dart. I feel like we've got our franchise quarterback, and I feel like the offensive line is playing better. And between those two, I don't feel like we're losing games because of them. I know that there's been some bad plays, same games, some bad turnovers, all that stuff. But the regime has had 4 years to build a roster and prepare it for their quarterback, and to build and create depth, and they have not done that. You know, we've got coaches. Well, first of all, they've brought in players who can't execute what the coaches want. The coaches can't get them to execute, and then we can't hold them accountable for their lack of execution. Now, some players obviously were not. You know, some guys are not playing more, and so on and so forth. But Deonte Banks is an embarrassment to the history of the Giants defense, and I've personally just gotten to the point where I can't support what's going on with what the current regime is doing. This team has had 10 losing seasons out of the last 12. These guys have not figured out how to solve that problem and fix it. And I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to hold people accountable from a coach and GM perspective before the year's over. If they do, we do have coaches on the staff today who have been we've got Tim Kelly, who's been an offensive coordinator 4 times in this league, 4 seasons. We've got Marcus Marquand, who's been a Falcons defensive coordinator twice. And Andre Patterson has had some experience as defensive coordinator throughout his career as well. It just enough is enough. I mean, I hear that yesterday that there was more than around 40 to 50% of the fans at MetLife were 49er fans. Like, at some point, it's just embarrassing. And as a longtime Giant fan, this is not what this franchise is supposed to be, and it's got to stop. So that's all I got. I got no questions.
No, thank you,
I'm
Jay.
just a voice hoping that somebody hears it. We're tired. We're done.
No, I appreciate the call, Jay. Thank you. Look, I get the frustration. I understand. It's been a long time where the team has struggled. I get it. This group's been here 4 years. I understand that too. I understand where you're coming from. I mean, look, they've given up over 30 points 3 weeks in a row. They've been down 3 scores in the fourth quarter the last two games. They got to 20 and 24 points, Paul, but a lot of that, again, is end of the game garbage time stuff where they were in the teens for the serious part of those 2 games. So, look, it hasn't. And Brian Dable's going to come on and do his press conference today. What time is he doing on? 1:30?
1:20, it says.
1:20. All right, so we can try to track what he says at the end of that for the fans out there. And he said it after the game last night. It's not good enough. It has to be better. It has to be better.
I think the hardest part about it is, you go in with your starters, your frontline players, and you're kind of scuffling through the beginning of the season. And the 0-3 start really kind of put them behind the 8 ball. Because now, when you're already 3 feet below sea level, now you don't have any wiggle room. So now some of the injuries start to pile up. And if you'd only had 1 or 2 wins that you had given away, you might have had a little wiggle room. Imagine, John, if they had not given away the Dallas game or the 5 turnovers in the New Orleans game, or obviously, I don't even want to discuss the Broncos game. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you got 2 of those 3 that you were able to lock down and not give away. How much different are things right now if the Giants are 4-5 instead of 2-7? Yeah. And I'm not trying to be funny.
But
I'm really not.
But they didn't. That's the problem.
No, they didn't. Right. But this is why I always tell people, and my dad's been telling me for years, I don't know why you scoreboard watch from the first week of the season, and I don't know why, if you lose a tough one early in the year, you get as upset as you do if you lose one in December. And I say, Dad, because the way it works in this league, with the way tiebreakers are, every game can come back and bite you in the butt.
Well, every game counts the same in the standings.
It sure does. And when you give away a game, I don't care what month it's in, when you give away a game, because of the quicksand of mediocrity that is the NFL, when you give away games, they will come back and haunt you. There's no way to escape it, John. They're like the Grim Reaper coming from behind in the shadows. They will sting you. And in this case, look at how badly those giveaway games have stung the Giants. They could easily be 4-5, and that's just being very, very kind. I could even say they could be 5-4.
Oh, no, I mean, you aren't going to win every close game.
But I'll go 4-5. I'll go 4-5.
They could be. They could.
Yes. And that's the problem.
But here's the problem.
You give away games.
They're not good enough to be 4-5.
Well,
because it wasn't fluke plays that led to 5 turnovers against the Saints. It was the Giants making mistakes.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was their defense being unable to stop Dallas and Denver at the end of those 2 games.
I didn't say Lady Luck took them. I said gave them away.
100%. You
gave them away.
You're 100% right. I didn't mean to imply that you said otherwise. But I'm going to ask you a basic question here. I don't know if you've looked at this. And you know me, I love to use advanced stats. I'm going to give you the simplest stat of all time on defense. Where do you think the Giants rank right now in terms of points allowed per game on defense?
They're in the bottom 6, I think.
Yeah, they are 5th worst.
Yeah.
The only teams worse than them are 2 teams that historically have 2 of the worst defenses we've ever seen in the Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. The Tennessee Titans, who have only won 1 football game this year and already fired their coach. And then the Chicago Bears, who the Giants happen to play next week.
I know.
So and who just gave up 42 points to the Cincinnati.
It was over
47,
40.
42, I think, was the final in that game. So 42 points to the Bengals last week. So, I mean, it's hard to win games when you're giving up the 5th most points in the National Football League.
There is no doubt. And again,
And he's right. By the way, the Cole's right. The offensive line has been pretty good. It was pretty good again this week. Wasn't an offensive line, at least in the pass protection wise.
Yeah, I needed to see more push in the run game, John.
Fine. Then that's fair. No argument for me. I think that's fair. And look, Jackson Dart's shown a lot of flashes where you think if he continues to develop, he can be your guy. He's not there yet, but he's shown enough where you think if he continues to develop, he can be that guy.
On the rookie curve, he's doing real well.
Yeah, on the rookie curve, he's doing well. I think that's I have no argument with that statement at all. 201-939-4513. Let's go to David in North Carolina, Johnny Mac. David, what's going on?
Hey, gentlemen. Oh boy, the last caller there just kind of hit a lot of the pain points. I think about a lot of times our dear friend Lynn in Maryland that called in earlier this year, and I think Lynn knew that the roster still just wasn't good enough, and that's fine. I wasn't expecting, necessarily playoffs, even if the Wilson experiment worked out great. But I think we all wanted to see a Giants football team that in today's NFL, with all the parity, with all the injuries that happen week to week, I mean, there just seems like there's so many key injuries with every team week to week that there's no reason to not be competitive. A competitive football team for 4 quarters, and that's where these games are decided. And usually it's by a very high-end or elite quarterback gets a chance to get the ball in their hands, and with these kickers that kick them from 50 and 60 yards, hey, one of these guys get the ball in their hands, game's close in the 4th quarter, that's the difference maker. And yes, there's a million other things that happen, drop passes, terrible plays, yada, 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 but that's what these games come down to. And for too many years, the Giants haven't been able to even come close to that. And, this year, the Broncos was a heartbreaker, the Cowboys was a heartbreaker, but, there was some signs that there was finally enough talent on this team to where we were starting to get in that mix where, dadgummit, it's a game in the 4th quarter. And that's what I was hoping for coming into this year as a fan. But, as sure, yes, there was injuries yesterday, but as you guys pointed out, there was an injured football team on the other side of the field yesterday. And
absolutely.
The NFL is, out of all the sports leagues, we all know it, no disrespect to the other sports, coaching matters more in this league than any other league. And yesterday, in my humble opinion, you saw 2 excellent coaches get the most out of a beat-up football team in the 49ers. Robert Saleh is an excellent defensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan, I mean, the guy, his offense speaks for himself. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It doesn't matter who the running back is in that Shanahan zone running system. The guy knows how to call plays. He knows how to prepare a team to win. I'm telling you right now, this is nothing personal. It's no disrespect. I hate calling for people's professional positions. Mr. John Mara, please, I beg you, do not let the Jackson Dart draft pick influence your position on keeping this regime. We're all tired of change. We're all tired of the merry-go-round. As the last caller said, it's an undisciplined team, John. Paul, they kick themselves in the foot every game with penalty after penalty, and it's not just this year. It's every year Brian Daboll's been there. And you see it in the camps, how they run camp. I mean, it's Club Med.
Well, I don't know about that. That one I'll disagree with you.
How many years do we have to watch Darius Slayton, who's a tremendous gentleman? I mean, tremendous gentleman. Drop footballs for this team and be the number 2 wide receiver. He has terrible hands. He's a body catcher. And yet, year after year, he's our best option because he's the last man standing. This team has had plenty of chances to draft difference makers, premium picks, premium picks. I mean, I know we're all tired of change, Mr. Merritt. Please do not let that influence your decision.
Thank you,
Another
Dave.
coach this great kid and can do a better job. Thank you.
No, thank you, Dave. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Jason in New Haven. He's up next. Jason, what's going on?
Hey, John and Paul, how you guys doing?
What's going on?
Good. Yeah, I was at the game yesterday. It was my first game going to for the season. I usually go to one a year. And yeah, I mean, I hate to even for you guys to have to even hear the fans and the complaints. I'm sure it's tough on you guys, but you guys do a good job of letting people, vent their frustration. So I know I definitely appreciate you guys.
Sadly, David, sadly, Jason, we have gotten used to it over the last few years. So look, that's why we're here. We are here for the fans to let you guys call in, talk about the game, however you want to talk about it. Trust me. Everyone in the building understands that the fan base is frustrated, and frankly, rightfully so. We get it. It's okay.
Yeah. So, I'm going to sound like a broken record. The first two gentlemen did an awesome job kind of describing. I was at the game yesterday, and, I'm always usually I try to be an optimistic fan because I know the game of football is hard. I played it in college. It's hard, and I can imagine on NFL pro level, it's very hard to get wins. I mean, it's very hard. These are the top of the line athletes, top of the line players, coaching staffs, and all that. But man, after yesterday, like the last gentleman said, I'm not one to call for people's jobs, and that's not what I'm here to do today. But man, you could see the difference in the coaching, in my opinion, yesterday. And for whatever reason, it seems like whatever is happening during the week, I'm not there, fellas. You guys have a little more access than the regular fan, of course. But it just seems like whatever's going on during the week is just not resonating on Sundays. Yeah, we have some players that are playing well. Dart, the offensive line, those guys are playing well. Burns is having – if we were even a winning team, he's running away Defensive Player of the Year. He's having a tremendous year as a Giants defender. Over the, probably the best I've seen in the last few years. So we have some guys, but man, I'm one to give coaches the benefit of the doubt, but after yesterday, man, it's just hard to anymore because we could blame whoever we want to blame. Banks, Bo with the penalties, Theo with another big drop yesterday, which I'm so over Theo. But, man, who can we blame anymore? If there's anything, right, the defense yesterday, just watching it live, they just look so uninspired, so lethargic. And, yes, as a professional athlete, you need to have pride, in your play because it's your resume. Your play on the field is your resume. But they're lethargic. It just didn't seem like they were in it yesterday for whatever odd reason. And if anything that a coach is responsible for, in my opinion, fellas, is attitude, fundamentals, and discipline of a team. That's my opinion. Those are the three things a coach is responsible for outside of developing a quarterback and, all that kind of thing. And I'm at a loss for words, man. Like yesterday, just watching half of that MetLife be Niners fans was it's just rough, man. I don't know where we go from here. The season's not over. I get it, fellas. But, man, the coaching needs to step up. I know players play the game, but, like the last gentleman said, coaching is a big part of any pro sport. Like the last gentleman said, definitely football. So, like I said, I'm not calling for anybody's jobs. I'm not going to do that because that's not my place. But the record over the last few years with this regime, like the gentleman said, just hasn't been up to snuff. And unless something drastic happens, like we win the rest of our games, that decision will be made on its own. And like I said, I thank you guys for dealing with the fans and our frustration. But, this has to turn around. And Dart, thank God we have Dart because if we didn't, man, this season would have been really, really rough to watch. So
thank you guys
keep doing a good job, and I'll take it off the air.
Appreciate it, my friend.
The only response I have for you, Jason, to be fair, Kyle Shanahan is one of the top shelf elite coaches in this league.
Oh, he's a top 3 offensive coach.
And most weekends, they're going to have an edge in staff. Just by, look at the guy's resume. Was he at 4 double-digit win seasons in the last 6?
I'd have to look. I don't know that.
I think that's what it is. So, and he is recognized, universally respected around the league, and recognized as one of the top shelf elite guys, like Sean Payton is, like McVay is, like Andy Reid is.
Kevin O'Connell.
Right. There's a handful of them. Those guys are top shelf. And so, as we described earlier in the show, you had to figure he was going to come in with a very, very high percentage game plan. They executed it, and that's what happens when you execute a high percentage game plan, John. You usually win.
Yeah. But
right?
look, fans, look, I understand the frustration. We're here for you to vent. Let's go to Corey in Arizona. He's up next. Hi, Corey.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're good.
Well, last week when I called, I was told Darius Slayton is consistent by you, John. And I just wanted to say, if you meant consistently been a practice squad caliber bum his whole lousy career, you were correct. That dude cannot catch a beach ball from 1.5 feet away.
Corey, the point I made, if you go to his Pro Football Reference page, look at his number of receptions and receiving yards over the course of his career, year to year, he has been very consistent in that regard in terms of production when he's been healthy for the majority of his career. Are his hands inconsistent? Absolutely. I would not argue that. Paul would not argue that.
No.
He's had drops throughout his career here with the Giants. That I will not argue with you, but his production has been fairly consistent over the course of his Giants career. That was the point I was making.
And you could usually count on him to be about 15 yards a catch by the end of the season, too. I mean, that's just a fact.
Well, we still need a number 2 receiver, like a real one.
No one's denying it. They
Corey,
can't upgrade at
By
receiver.
the way, Corey, I think in the offseason when we had this conversation, and I said if there was one thing, I think we had a show, actually. We did a show. And I think the show is if you could add one thing to this team, what would you add? I think I said number 2 wide receiver. I think that was my answer. So I don't disagree with that.
The other thing, the other day when you were on the air with Sean O'Hara, you said that the fans always want to blame the head coach. As far as I can remember, we didn't have many double or multi-score leads with Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge's tenure because the personnel was awful. This head coach has found a way to make this team lose multiple games where we had multiple score leads in historically awful fashion. He's 15-39-1 since being carried by a 6-1 start against a cupcake schedule in 2022. 5-16-1 against the division. Look, I really hate, like the other previous caller said, I hate calling for coaches' jobs. I've never hated a head coach until Dable, except maybe McAdoo when he benched Eli Fergino. This guy just isn't it. They're undisciplined. They find ways to lose. They have talent across the board. There's no reason it has to be this bad.
All right, Corey. Appreciate the call, man. And my point is that in all sports, by the way, not just in football, when things go poorly, everyone goes after the head coach. Tom Thibodeau got fired last year after bringing the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. Aaron Boone has gotten the Yankees to the playoffs countless times. Fans want to fire him after every year. And again, that doesn't always mean that people are wrong. Sometimes it is the head coach's fault. I understand that. I'm not saying that. But I'm speaking generally as sports fans. When things go bad, the easy thing is to try to change the coach across the sports. That's the only point I was trying to make.
Or the quarterback, or the point guard, or the goaltender.
Whoever the best player is.
There you go.
That's kind of usually how it goes.
And as we all know, the coach is one person, and the roster is so many people. And with salary caps, you can't change out the whole roster.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, I get it. It always makes logical sense to go after one instead of many.
It's the easy lever to pull, right? Oh, boy. All right, let's go to Demare in North Carolina. Demare, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
We're doing okay, Demare. How are you?
Disappointed. You
Yeah.
know, I've been a Giants fan all my life, and, you know, I'm not that old. I'm only 26, but I remember what the Giants used to look like in my youth, and I remember what a competent defense looked like. And I have to say this is probably the most disappointing defense I've ever seen in my life. And it's not to say that the Giants don't have talent on this roster, because they do, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But Shane Bowen has absolutely no idea how to use that talent on his defense. Dexter Lawrence, I feel like, is being underutilized. He's not playing nose tackle as much as he used to, even though last year Shane Bowen let him play that position, and he had 9 sacks in about 7 games. And then he turns around and completely pushes him away from that position. I understand that Dexter is a big part of why Brian Burns is having success. He takes him out of double teams, but there is still opportunity for them to utilize him best. And I feel as though Shane Bowen has no idea how to figure out how to do that.
Demare, I will be honest with you. You can argue that this defense is underachieved, and that's fair. I don't disagree with that overall statement. I think it's a fair point. I don't think Dexter Lawrence's lack of production, and I watch the tape every week, has anything to do with where he's lined up on the defensive line. If anything, it's easier to get double teamed when you're lined up at nose tackle. It's not harder. It's easier. So honestly, I'll be honest with you. I looked this up. I did this last week, Demare. I looked at Dexter Lawrence's win rates and pressure rates based on where he was lined up. Did you know his win rate and pressure rate is better when he's at the 3 technique than when he's at nose tackle?
I mean, and that's good and all, but at the same time, I feel as though we see the more dominant Dexter Lawrence playing nose tackle.
No, but I get it. No, Demare, I agree with you. But this year, Demare, this year, he has not been more dominant when he's been at nose tackle than when he's been elsewhere. I looked it up. I sorted PFS's ability to sort by snaps based on what gap the defender lines up in on a play. Is it at the 0? Is it at the 1? Is it at the 2? So I did 0 and 1 technique. I put that into one bucket. I put 2 and out in another bucket. He had a higher win rate and a higher pressure rate when he was 2 and out rather than at 0 or 1.
If I may, and I'm not going to look at Dexter Lawrence as an individual here. I'm just going to talk about the spider web that is the National Football League. Every single unit, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams, is a spider web. To just start isolating one player is like isolating one thread in that spider web. It doesn't make sense because one player is impacted by all of the other strands that hook up to that strand in the spider web. When you look at the Giants, I ask you very kindly, if you said to me at the beginning of the season, this was going to be a top 10 defense, not only would I have agreed with you, I would have said they had a chance to be a top 5. I preached that from the top of the Empire State Building.
Yeah,
because I thought about the talent, and you agreed.
I didn't disagree with you.
Okay, most people did. What you have on this defense this year, and we could sit here for the next week and a half and not even leave the room and talk about all the problems and all the mistakes that have been made. But the bottom line is this. A number of the players on this defense have not played to their max potential. Outside of Brian Burns, I'm not sure that anyone on this defense has maxed out to the backs of their football card.
I think Burns is probably the only one.
Right? You would agree with that? Would you agree with that, caller?
That is probably Cordell Flott.
And Flott maybe too. That's fair.
You're absolutely right.
No, that's fair.
Let me pull back and give you Cordell Flott also. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate that because you know what? Cordell has gotten better. Every year he's been here, he deserves that recognition. I'll give you, that's it. 2 guys who have played to the max of the back of their football card on that entire defensive unit. That is not good enough, period, end of story, and that's a whole lot of reasons why that's not happening. And to just single out any one player or one person when you have so many people not playing up to their level of production, it doesn't make sense. Now, I also understand that all of us want an easy answer. We would love to point to one guy or one coach or one play, one scheme, and say, oh, that's the problem. There is so much going awry right now on this defense. It's hard for me to just sit here and allow somebody to just pick on one player. I just can't do that. I'm sorry, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
No, I definitely do, but it is kind of frustrating as a fan when I can look at other teams where I can say they don't have more talent than us, and I see them get more production out of said players based off of just putting their guys in better positions. Me personally, I might not have the exact numbers on it, but it just feels like I'm not seeing my players being put in their best positions to win. And you're right. It could be just the fact that these players just aren't as good as we thought they would be, or it could be just the fact maybe they're just checked out at this point. You know, they're just tired of losing. They've been losing for the last 3 years. We started 2-7, the last 3 years, it could just be them checking out. But for some reason, I just feel like there's a bit of a softness to this defense. I don't see the aggressiveness that Shane Bowen preached that, would be coming with this defense. I don't see the relentlessness that I think we all expected to be seeing out of this defense. Like, I understand our front four is one of the best in football. I understand that. But I would still like to see some type of, a lot more blitzing. I would like to see, a lot more stunts ran. I don't, it's just me personally, I don't really like the idea of just sitting back like, yeah, we have a great front four, let them go rush, and then, everybody else just play coverage. That just hasn't been working for us. And especially with the secondary we have right now, I don't want to, trash on Black or, I'm more upset with Deonte Banks, don't get me wrong. I feel as though completely underwhelming player for a first-round pick, complete disappointment. I don't know if it was just the fact that he just doesn't fit in this system or he just hasn't developed the way we want it. I don't know. He's just not the same person for Maryland. From what I saw in the run game, him just completely bouncing off of people, him completely missing, taking horrible angles. I don't know who that Deonte Banks is, but that's not the guy I saw coming out of Maryland. And that's not the guy I saw in his rookie year. I'm not.
I agree with you, by the way. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And thank you. Appreciate the call, man.
His play has gone backwards. It has. There's just no other way to describe it. His play has belied all of the potential that we saw coming out of school and as a rookie. You're absolutely correct.
All right, so I brought this up. Going from the 2 technique out for Dexter Lawrence this year, a 15.8% win rate and 8.9% pressure rate. Keep those two numbers in your head, right? Because it's going to take me a second to bring the other ones up.
15. Well, even roughly 15 and 8.
Right. Or 15.8, so it's more like 16.
All right, 16 and 8.
So 0 and 1, 14.8 win percentage, and a 6.9% pressure rate at 0 and 1.
Okay.
And I can't go to 2-eye for nose tackle.
No.
That's not nose tackle. You're lined up on the guard shoulder. You're not lined up on the center.
It's not.
So he's been better as a pass rusher when he's been lined up on the guard and outside as compared to the nose tackle. And look, I looked that up last week because I see that argument on the internet. It doesn't play out. I tried to prove the theory. I said, all right, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to try to prove this theory to see if it's right. Because watching the tape, I never did think it was right. It's not. This year, he has not been better as a nose tackle and a 1 technique than he has been lined up over the guard or lined up outside of the guard. He just hasn't been. It's a fact. All right? It's easier to get double teamed than nose tackle. His double team numbers are still high, like we talked about last week. They're not as high as they've been before, but it's still very high. He's got double teamed a lot. And I thought he actually had a pretty good pass rushing game this past week. He pushed the pocket a lot. But again,
now
when the ball's coming out so fast, you're not going to be able to get there. It's just the way it is. It's not his fault.
This is an unfair question to ask you because you're not the one responsible for the chart.
Okay.
But just because you win your block or your snap or your opponent at that line of scrimmage doesn't mean you were able to make the play.
Oh, no, 100%. No. Look, this is, again,
right.
1,000% correct.
So this is just that you beat the block.
That's what win rate is.
That's what this stat. What this stat is.
That's what win rate is.
Okay.
Win rate means you beat your block. Pressure rate means you impact the quarterback on the play.
Okay, that's how they define it.
That's why those are different. That is correct.
So pressuring the quarterback doesn't mean you hit the quarterback, right?
That is correct.
So
I can tell you he has this is PFF's tracking. They have 1 quarterback hit at 0 and 1 technique.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, he has 2 quarterback hits. So 3 total on the year. Which again,
that's not enough.
Quarterback hits
that's
on the year.
That's not enough.
And again, I think his pass rush has been okay, Paul. The bigger issue for me, and I'm waiting for this to load here so I can give you the exact number.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many tackles for losses and no gain do you think Dexter Lawrence has in the run game this year?
Maybe 2.
He has 2.
That's not enough. So I can appreciate, just to kind of counterbalance the numbers that you offered,
right.
I can appreciate the win rate against the block. I can even appreciate the pressure rate against the block. But you got to see some tackles for losses. You got to see some quarterback hits. You got to see some sacks. Those three statistics, and again, they're only numbers, and it's all about the spider web. Again, let's make that clear.
Yes, this is not all on one.
It's all about the spider web that is the front four, but this is how numbers sometimes don't match what you see or what you're digesting or what the full complete picture is. Because as they always say about statistics, you can almost make them tell any story that you want. Bless you.
Thank you.
And I don't deny what his ability is to still play good football, because he's played good football.
Yeah.
I don't think Dexter Lawrence has been terrible.
No, he's not. No,
I don't think so at all.
He has not been. Absolutely not.
I think Dexter Lawrence has played well.
Yes.
But when you compare him to his high standard, it's those other categories that I just talked about.
There haven't been as
Quarterback
many
hits,
splash plays.
TFLs and sacks, the splash plays. He has been a compiler of those numbers. Not this year. And that's where I think a lot of the disconnect is when people are saying that, he hasn't played as well as you want him to. And I understand that because the splash play numbers are not there.
201-939-4513. Let's go to Len in Columbia, Maryland. He will wrap us up today. Hi, Len.
Hey, hi, guys. Ugh. 2-7 again. Wow. All right, 8 games to go. Let's see if we can try and build a little momentum, keep Dart healthy, watch his progression. The biggest position is that quarterback position. I think we got one. And so we try to move forward. Boy, a lot of red there yesterday. Let me remind everybody that was not a day of the game walk-up crowd. Those are people buying tickets in advance. The stadium is virtually, I'll guess, 97% sold out. There's a lot of Giants fans selling tickets. A lot of Giants fans. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. We're losing a whole generation of fans here. It's not just yesterday. It's not just this season. It goes back and back and back, and everybody's frustrated. The organization is sideways. There's problems top to bottom. Corporate suite to the locker room. It's just sideways. We're going to have to bounce back from this. If I were going to pinpoint one thing this morning, one thing that's kind of really bothering me, and it's pretty simple. We simply have to get better players. These other teams that remain near 8-8, 9-8, playoffs consistently, they just seem to be able to acquire players to carry them forward, even in the short term, 2 games, 3 games, that they can put in the game. We don't seem to be getting those kinds of people. When you miss on I'm not telling you anything you don't know here, but when you miss on those high picks, it forces you into the free agent market, and you overpay. Now, I'm not going to be silly about this. Injuries are making a difference this year. I mean, no question. John, you pointed it out with the back 4 there.
And by the way, Len, by the way, real quick, let's just also not forget about Malik Neighbors' injury on offense too, which I know happened earlier in the year.
Carry that over to the whole year, but we got the acquisition. Let me point to a couple of things. Last year in the 6th round, we drafted an inside linebacker who made the roster and made the roster again today. This year, but seems to have regressed this year. That Masao. Okay. Now, hopefully, he manages to turn that around. In the 7th round last year, with a 252nd pick in the draft, the 49ers drafted an inside linebacker. I think he had 15 tackles yesterday. He may be the Hall of Famer's replacement in Fred Warner. Inside linebacker in the 6th round, the 49ers in the next round, drafting after us. Pick an inside linebacker, and the inside linebacker is starting to emerge as a player. Only his 2nd year. This year, with the 245th pick in the draft, we we draft Corey Black, right? With the 249th pick in the draft, the 49ers pick a guy named Colby, who was a right guard at Iowa last year. Played right guard. 90% of his snaps at Iowa, right guard. No problem. Just put him at left guard because the draft before, the 49ers had drafted in the third round, they're starting right guard for probably the next 8 years. Puny. Okay? So they insert Colby, and Colby is standing out. And he didn't play yesterday. I knew he was injured, which makes the situation worse. They had 2 new offensive linemen. Second week in a row, Dexter's facing a backup center on the opposing team. Second week in a row, backup center. Well, anyway, back to Colby. Colby looks like he's going to settle in. If I had 30 seconds with Joe, I'd ask him, Joe, what were you thinking at 245? We got too many offensive linemen? Did you really think Neal was going to move in there? Did you really think Kubas was ever going to be strong enough to play guard?
No, in fairness, if Colby's on this team, he's not playing over Runyon or Van Roten. He's not.
Oh, I think he is.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, all right.
You do know they drafted Marcus Bowe in the 5th round, right?
Yeah.
And you do like him, or do you not?
I like the potential. Good pick, Paul.
Okay.
I like the potential.
Do you like Michael McFadden, who was also a 5th-round pick a few years ago, by the way, and is a starting inside linebacker?
Let me put it that way.
Right? Michael McFadden?
Okay. All right.
5th-round pick, starting inside linebacker till he got hurt, busted up his foot. What are you going to do?
Yeah. No,
so there've been
John,
some of those here, too. Just to be fair.
Let me go back to Colby for a second. And it's just a minor point. The point is, we're not bringing guys in who can play when other guys get hurt. I mean, it's real. I know there's been injuries. It's really we just got to get better football. We can keep talking about it. We got to play better. Yeah, people are regressing. Okay, well, that's a whole different issue. That's a coaching issue. I mean, why does Marcel? Why is he regressing? He got hurt yesterday. I know, and I'm sorry about that.
I will say this.
How does Banks regress? How does Newbin regress? Why did these guys regress?
Muasau did not play well against Philly last week, but I thought he actually was okay in the first half of this game against the 49ers until he got hurt. And then I noticed on tape there was a step down when he went off the field. Now, I agree with you. The 2 weeks before that, there were some rough moments. Mm-hmm. I have no argument with that. Zero argument. You're 1,000% right. I get what you're saying.
He's a young and consistent player. That's just what he is.
Okay, I know you guys want to go. A couple of quick ones.
Yeah, we gotta wrap.
Thank you for taking my call. I think that elbow's not right with Dexter.
Landon's elbow's fine.
I just don't think it's right. I think we're going to hear there was surgery after season. They're going to do surgery. It's not right. It's not right, and I think it's affecting him, completely on this. In summary, let's see what we can do in this second half. Keep Dart healthy. You got to win some games. We got 4 home games left. We got to win some home games. Hey, there's a basic rule in the retail business: never let your best customers leave your store disappointed. It'll come back to haunt you long term. We're seeing it. These people are they're going elsewhere, and you know what? The kids are going elsewhere, and that's the future. All right. I'm all over acquisitions.
Take care.
We got to get better players in here. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Go Giants.
And look, you always have to draft better. That's always a thing. You always have to draft better.
It's the foundation of your team.
And look, just to be clear about this, Paul said this before. I just want to reassert this again because everything that happened last week with the back and forth with Dexter Lawrence. Look at me. I'm a metrics guy. You guys all know that, right? Dexter Lawrence this year has 19 pressures in 276 pass rush opportunities. He's a 14% win rate, which is actually pretty good for an inside. It's a higher win rate than he had last year in terms of beating blocks. All right? His pressure rate's much lower than it was last year, which again plays because there's fewer quarterback hits and stuff like that. So especially in the pass rush game, he's not having as many quick, dominant wins that have leading to sacks like they did last year in quarterback hits, but he's still being impactful pushing the pocket as a pass rusher. Now, as a larger piece of the run defense, again, I think it's very hard, to Paul's point, with the spider web of how defense and run defense work in the NFL with anything on one person. I'm not a grade guy with that. I don't, you know me? I think everyone up front is included in the issues with the run defense.
Absolutely.
And he's in that bucket with everybody else. That doesn't
No
mean
doubt.
That doesn't mean he's not getting a lot of attention. He's getting a lot of double teams. That is all happening. He has four hands on him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying that. But when you look at the defense as a unit, we're talking about this as a team. He's part of that team concept. That's all we're saying. We're not going after him. He's still a good player. But again, you haven't gotten enough splash plays from anyone on this defense. Spare Brian Burns. You just haven't gotten it.
That's a simple fact. Brian Burns, look, it will be criminal if he is not. He's got another half a season to go, but if he's not all pro, it would be very disappointing. He's playing great football.
I mean, yes, I know the voters will never vote him in because the team's not good enough, but he should be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Like, there's no doubt.
Oh, if the record was better, he would be.
Yeah. All right, Paul.
That's it, John.
Should I look up who's on tomorrow? I'll look up who's on tomorrow. Let me see. Who's on tomorrow?
Does it come with a case of Band-Aids?
It should.
It should.
Maybe some
Gauze?
antibiotic cream to make sure the wounds don't get infected. Big Blue Kickoff live schedule. Here we go. In the meantime, folks, make sure you check out Giants TV. It's our streaming app. You can find it on all our popular smart TVs. You can download all our contents on there. It's on the Giants mobile app as well. You can download it for free. Roku, Apple TV, all those places. Make sure you check that out. Tomorrow would be November 4th, so tomorrow will be Lance and Sytak coming your way right here on Big Blue Kickoff Live at 12:30. Then you have Burke and O'Hara on Wednesday as usual, me and Casillas on Thursday, and then Dottino and Sytak on Friday. So our normal schedule here on this first week of November. Hope everybody had a happy Halloween. For Paul Dottino, I am John Schmeelk. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with you tomorrow for another Big Blue Kickoff Live at 12:30, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. From our podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Community Health. Keep getting better. We'll see you then.